Douglass Sloan joins me now. He's a senior political analyst at the consulting firm National Capital Strategy Group. He's also vice president of the Washington, D.C. chapter of the civil rights group NAACP. Thanks so much for your time, Douglass. Firstly, should Democrats be worried about the Trump effect, do you think?
Well, I'm not too worried about the Trump effect. Right now, they have Trump campaigning with Senate candidate Oz in Pennsylvania, which I think is a poor strategy. Trump lost Pennsylvania to Biden in 2020, and they have him campaigning in some of the suburbs right outside Philadelphia that he lost decisively to independent voters and swing voters that Mehmet Oz would be trying to woo, would be scared off from a Donald Trump campaigning with them. Also, Mehmet Oz is campaigning with the governor candidate, Doug Mastriano, who's also losing the polls, I think, by about 11 points to Shapiro, who is the governor in Pennsylvania. So I fail to see the strategy of bringing Trump into Pennsylvania. If you really want Trump to have your biggest bang for your buck, you take him to red states like Florida or maybe Iowa, where he can really do some damage. But in some of the blue states, he's just not going to have that much of an effect.
And how do you think we best analyse this damage, as you say? Just in that report, we heard how Trump has a Teflon effect. His once individual flair for shrugging off damaging allegations, criminal investigations, and even abuse is described as just rubbing it off, and it's kind of trickling down into other candidates. Would you agree with that? What kind of risk does it pose? I mean, another example is Herschel Walker. His allegations there that he's paid for 2 ex-girlfriends to have abortions, yet he's doing so well in the polls. Is there a bigger picture of success here that Trump is responsible for?
Well, I don't think so. What you're saying about Trump being Teflon, that has been true up until now. He is facing a House subpoena, and most recently he is facing some pretty serious charges regarding moving all those documents out of the White House and taking them with him to Mar-a-Lago when he left the White House in 2021. So those are pretty serious charges that I quite frankly don't see him getting out of. And regarding Herschel Walker, he is down in the polls to Warnock. It's a very interesting phenomenon that we're seeing right now. Republican polling outlets are flooding the zone with Republican-leaning polls that are showing Republicans doing much better than they have in previous cycles, and they're not aligned with some of the voter registration numbers of young voters and some of the high voter turnouts, or rather early voter turnouts, that are traditionally go to Democrats. So we are predicting that this will be a stronger election for Democrats than is anticipated by some of the polls and that we normally see in midterm elections because of such a strong early voter turnout and such a strong voter registration numbers from young voters like in Gen Z.
So what do you think people are voting for? We know that Biden has tried to convince Americans to prioritize democracy when they cast their ballots, but Americans are more concerned about the rising cost of living, paying their rent, buying kids shoes, that kind of thing. Do you think that Democrats have been localized enough with their campaigning?
Well, hindsight is 2020. We can always Monday morning quarterback after these campaigns have been run, or even now when we haven't even made it to election day yet. Democrats are notorious poor campaigners compared to Republicans. We should have been campaigning on the economy. Joe Biden has done a wonderful job. We just had a great report come in last week regarding the jobs report. We have low unemployment. We have many jobs available. We have a boost in the overall look at the economy. The gas prices have gone down. So Democrats should be campaigning on that. Of course, we're not. A lot of Democrats are leaning heavily on the the Dobbs decision, abortion, which is working. But, in hindsight, you would have liked to see Democrats campaign on some of the good that Joe Biden has done since he's been in office. It's a little late for that now. We have to run with what we've got. But again, these early voter turnout numbers of being higher than we've ever seen before. I think we're at 36 million right now, which is dwarfing what it was in the last midterm election of 2018 of 30 million, bodes well for the Democratic Party.
We'll certainly have to wait and see. Douglass Sloan, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much for having me.